Hello, and welcome back to day 2 of CEC TV as part of CEC's 100th Anniversary Convention and Expo here in Orlando, Florida. Coming up on today's program, CEC Editor-in-Chief Dr. Shanna is in the studio to discuss the Exceptional Teacher Repository. Kuna Tavalin and Dr. Kevin Rubenstein talk to us about CEC's Special Education Legislative Summit. CEC's President-elect Andrea Jasper is with us to discuss what she'll be working on during her future term. Toni from Columbia State is with us to talk about the efforts of the Advanced Standards Work Group. Stay tuned to catch a glimpse at what's taking place this year in Orlando. I'm joined by Dr. Shanna. Thank you for speaking with me today. Could you tell us about the Exceptional Teacher Repository?
Well, the CEC has launched an amazing opportunity for teachers to help other teachers. It's a database program in which teachers can submit resources, lesson plans, PowerPoints, website ideas, behavior intervention strategies. There's no way I can list all of them because special ed is so broad and diverse. If something is submitted, it goes through a peer review process, and then if it meets the standard, we will add it to our repository. It's kind of like Teachers Pay Teachers, but it's free, and it's available to all CEC members for free.
That's a wonderful benefit. And how comprehensive is this resource, and what does it hope to offer special educators?
It's in the infancy stage. The hope is to have a little bit of everything, because again, special education is so broad and diverse. So the hope is that we build a database that will be helpful to all special education teachers, from being a learning disabled cross-cat teacher to a teacher who's in a self-contained program like autism, intellectual disability. And also we're looking for all ages, from the preschool toddler kids to the transitioning out. So our hope is to be very comprehensive.
Wonderful. And then as CEC Editor-in-Chief, have you been able to put your personal touch and expertise on the work?
Well, it's on the list. Okay. As we're building the database, our hope is to really put a flair to it, to have some great ideas and see what comes in. But at this point, being in the infancy stage, I have great hopes and goals, but it's one step at a time.
One bloom and blossom at a time.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me, and enjoy the conference.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
The Community Learning Center serves as an important role at Cleveland State University and the College of Education's curriculum and programming to help local communities, families, and school districts within the state. We caught up with CSU leadership to learn more about the center's work.
The center was founded over 25 years ago here on the campus at Cleveland State University in the College of Education. It started as a small program in one classroom on our campus, serving about 2 to 3 classes per semester. And the objective was mainly to provide a supervised setting for our College of Education teacher preparation students to practice their teaching skills under the supervision of the faculty here at Cleveland State University. The key programs we have in the CLC are in-person academic tutoring and assessment support services. We also offer remote academic tutoring and assessment support services. We also have an outreach tutoring program that meets in the schools in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. The volunteer tutoring program at the CLC trains tutors to work with K-12 learners in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Additionally, we train students who are not education majors but may be interested in learning more about the teaching profession. So students from other colleges within our university can apply to be a volunteer tutor and receive 4 hours of training to tutor students in our outreach program.
Working in the CLC has a huge impact on the community. First and foremost, it has a great impact on future educators like myself. It gives me the opportunity to come in here and work with the student, assess him or her, and then give instruction on it. And it helps the student because not every student who comes here has a disability, but some do. So it gives us the opportunity to work with students who are struggling. It gives us the opportunity to work with students who have disabilities and are in our communities. And it gives us the opportunity just to practice, and it gives us the opportunity to prepare for educators and almost learn on the job. I don't have a special education background. My undergrad was not in education, so I've been able to come here and really learn about the assessments and give them to the students and then grade them. It's a great change of pace to come in here because you're working with the student. It's not sitting, falling asleep in a class or grinding after, a day in school like I had. So it's nice to be able to come in here and get to work. You know what I mean? It's different.
The tutoring program here at CLC is very important to the community. Not many parents can afford tutoring outside of here, and having the opportunity to bring my child here for the month is phenomenal. She went through reading, and that's where she was struggling the most at. And Hannah, who was her tutor, she did an outstanding job. She used to want to be a hairstylist, but now she comes home and says she wants to be a teacher. When my daughter came home from tutoring, she wanted to tutor her toys, her kids. And that's how I noticed this program made a difference in her life.
The Community Learning Center is an important part of our curriculum and our program. There are two parts to this. One is it's an opportunity for the College of Education and Human Services at Cleveland State University to serve our community. That includes our parents and K-12 students in Cleveland, as well as our neighboring school districts. It also helps our students who are preparing to become teachers. This is an opportunity for them to work with students prior to their field experiences and prior to them going out and doing their practicum and their student teaching in their final semester. This kind of work prepares them to be better teachers.
I'm joined with Kuna Tavalin of the CEC and Dr. Kevin Rubenstein of CASE. Thank you both for speaking with me today. So for educators and CEC members that are unaware of SELS, can you tell us a little bit more of the setup of the summit?
Sure, yeah. SELS has been going on now. We're headed into our 19th year this year. Typically, when we have it in person, we start on Sunday with some great briefings from people from across the country about what's going on Capitol Hill. On Monday, we do a deep dive into our issues. We usually have about 4 issues that we work really hard on. Usually there's something related to funding, mental health, those sorts of things. And then on Tuesday, all of our participants head to Capitol Hill and meet with their members of Congress and their staff. And that's really a great day with lots of energy, and people come back with that, with lots of stories about what's going on. And then on Wednesday, we come back together and do some debriefing and share some stories and really get back to work about how advocacy is supposed to work all year round. When we are virtual, we do that stretched out over 1 or 2 weeks and really focus on making sure that people are engaging with their members of Congress virtually. So it's really a different experience, but still, nonetheless, great power in advocacy.
Excellent, and it sounds very productive. And you mentioned being virtual, and I know for the last 2 years the summit has been virtual. Any opportunities and or challenges that you can expand on there about having a virtual component?
Yeah, sure. I think that like most people, we were really disappointed to have to go virtual that first July, but we quickly saw some benefits that we could anticipate, but we didn't realize were going to be so big. And one of them is registration. It exploded. We were typically at 300 people for the summit, and we had 1,500 registrants that first virtual SELS, and the level of engagement continues. So that is great, and all of our speakers were very flexible and happy to pivot to a virtual format. And you know, it's turned out to be really great. Yeah.
Was an initial adjustment, but it had a great benefit at the end.
Very much so. Very much so.
Very good. And then Kevin, can you describe your personal journey from SELS participant to taking a leadership role?
Sure. Yeah. You know, this is SELS is one of the best professional development experiences that I've ever had. So, being a participant years ago and going and working with members of Team Illinois and just meeting with our members of Congress and talking with their staff about issues that are personal to me as a special educator, about what that looks like back in my home district, and being able to carry that message to members of Congress was really so inspiring. And then to be able to be a leader for CASE and CEC and plan the summit and bring it to the next level and bring my own vision and work with great leaders like Kuna and others from CEC and CASE about how we bring this to the next level has just been such a great gift to me personally and professionally. So I'm really excited and proud to be a part of it.
Great. And is there a 5 or 10-year objective through the work of SELS? Are there any key milestones that SELS would like to reach during that time frame?
I think that's a great question because policy really is a long game. And part of the value of SELS is that our members are able to deepen relationships with their congressional offices, and congressional offices are able to have trusted constituents on the ground who really deeply understand the issues that we are focused on. And so when there are opportunities for change, we've already laid that groundwork. And so we do have long-term objectives. We'd like to fully fund the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, for example. We would like to really help support and grow and diversify the education profession.
Yep.
And those are long-term goals, and being able to lay some of that groundwork through SELS is really, really great.
Laying the groundwork and a strong foundation is extremely important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, thank you both. This has been a pleasure speaking to you. Enjoy CEC and safe travels home.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. The I'm Determined project, a state-directed project funded by the Virginia Department of Education, focuses on providing direct instruction, models, and opportunities to practice skills associated with self-determined behavior. Their website offers endless resources and tools for educators to use when focusing on self-determination with their own students. CEC TV caught a glimpse of what the amazing project is all about.
Back in 2006, the Virginia Department of Education was looking at post-school outcomes for students with disabilities. And we found that students weren't attending their IEP meetings. They couldn't really explain what their disability was. They couldn't really name any rights under IDEA or any accommodations they were supposed to be getting as a result of receiving special ed services. It was kind of a wake-up call. What we realized is we shouldn't be surprised that we're not seeing positive post-school outcomes because students really aren't, receiving the services they need, and certainly aren't aware of what their strengths, preference, interests, or needs are. At that time, 3 different universities across the state and the Department of Ed came up with this idea of, well, let's focus on self-determination.
Self-determination, what we like to teach to the youth is just really being able to think through situations on your own. Doesn't mean that you're always by yourself or isolated, but it's knowing how to ask for help and when to ask for help when you need it, and then when to kind of take things on by yourself. The structure of I'm Determined, we have a statewide network that works in regions. So Virginia's split up into superintendent regions. We have youth leaders in each region, and we have what we call determinators in each region, which are the adult staff. And what we do is we combine those efforts and try to work with students, educators, and parents if they're wanting to know about how do I get my youth involved in their education. I've seen students go to their own IEP meetings and be involved or lead the meeting. What do I need to do that? That's when we can step in and say, okay, we have tools that can help you kind of prepare for something like that. But we also have these youth who have been through it and can share their story.
In elementary school and middle school, I didn't have a good understanding of my disability. All I knew was I was a little bit different because as everyone else was sitting in the class taking their test, I would always be taken out, or I'd be taken out of my classroom at random times. Going into the IMD project, I learned a lot more about myself and the struggles that I have with my disability, like my processing and my flipping of words, and not just words, but sometimes concepts and things like that. But I also learned, how to advocate for myself and like what I need. To go and advocate for yourself for people who understand, it's a lot easier to put yourself out there. And once you start getting comfortable with people that you're comfortable with, it's easier to do it with people who may not understand what you're going through as much. But you have the confidence now to go out there and say, hey, this is what I need, and for me to work at my best level.
I think my own personal journey that also I think is reflective of the organization is that I came into this project thinking I have to be the advocate, that I have a lot to speak to the answers that are needed in the educational system. And I think as we've developed and we've grown, it's been a lot less of myself speaking into that and a lot more of empowering individuals with disabilities and youth with disabilities to speak into that. If I'm the one saying it instead of the youth, there's a lot of presuppositions or a lot of assumptions that I'm making about that person's experience. Whereas if it's the person speaking themselves, it's their identity, it's their world, it's their experience, and that's invaluable to hear.
I can't say disability gave me a voice, but I can say that they gave me a lot of opportunities to use my voice and get comfortable with the fact that some people might not understand me, but I still get my point across.
First of all, self-determination is not an end goal. It's something you're constantly working on. It's a journey. And barriers don't end just because you graduate high school. If you go on to college, there's barriers. If you go to work, there's barriers. And watching them successfully navigate that and then share those stories with us, I mean, that's the best. That's what keeps me going.
I'm joined by Dr. Angie Jasper. Now, Angie, you have served on CEC's board of directors, countless committees. It only feels like a natural step in transition to become CEC president. So through the years, did you ever think you get the chance to be CEC president, and how excited are you to jump into this role?
I'm super excited. We have new initiatives, a new strategic plan that we have rolled out. It feels like this is a new season for CEC. So I'm really looking forward to leading that charge and being involved in those initiatives. In terms of thinking that if I would ever lead CEC, that was a thought in my mind. When you are involved in CEC and doing work, you want to give back. You want to be involved in some capacity. And so to me, this just seemed like the next kind of natural step for me.
Excellent, excellent. And now you'll assume the presidency January 1st, 2023. So for those members watching now, can you tell us a little bit about your previous experiences and what expertise or attributes would you like to bring to this role?
I think the most relevant were I served as the president of the Michigan CEC unit, which is like a unit of the national organization, as well as a department chair at my university. So with those experiences, I feel I learned a lot of supervision and managerial type skills that were helpful to me and will be helpful in this role. My leadership style, I think, is very much service oriented, and I feel like I'm a relationship person, so I think that'll be beneficial in the sense that I am in support of doing work, rolling my sleeves up, being involved in that. And one of the things that I pride myself on in terms of being relationship oriented is developing communication and being transparent so that we can develop collaborative relationships. That's something that's really important to me.
Yeah, it sounds like servant leadership, and that you lead by action, which is very important. Very good. And what areas or aspects of special education would you like CEC to focus on during your presidency?
For me, it's going to be a priority during my presidency to focus on local and state chapters in our caucuses. And one of the things that I want to do is to grow our leadership. And so to me, this seems like a natural way to do that by investing in our students, investing in early career professionals, by targeting BIPOC professionals, and working to help those individuals develop into potential leaders and to get them plugged into CEC.
Well, that's going to sound, it sounds one exciting. Congratulations. I look forward to hearing about your presidency when it begins in January of 2023. Take care. The University of Missouri College of Education and Human Development strives to prepare leaders in education to assist children, youth, and adults with disabilities to be academically and socially successful lifelong learners. With numerous national leading centers and initiatives to its name, CEC TV took a look and a glimpse at the activities in Mizzou.
There are a number of key issues that the nation is facing related to teacher professional development and science and mathematics. What are the best ways to prepare our special educators to teach math and science? We still need to do a lot of research and thinking more deeply about how we do that. And then at large, there's a real shortage of teachers for teaching math and science. So how do we fill those gaps and how do we fill that need? And then how do we prepare the general educators, though, to teach science and math to our students with disabilities? Our department, the Department of Special Education, has numerous projects that are making significant impacts in the state of Missouri, in the schools and districts, and at large.
So at John Warner, we have about 20% of our students who receive special education services as a part of their education. We continue to have students come in and student teach with us. And so there are a couple other teachers here who went to Mizzou who are now host teachers for students at Mizzou. And so I think being in Columbia and being a part of Columbia Public Schools and the tie that they have with Mizzou, it's really kind of special, it's really important. Being able to kind of go back to your roots and even as a host teacher, continue to learn through what that student teacher is bringing from their classes directly is beneficial to both parties. So we're teaching, but we're also still learning from what they're doing at Mizzou and asking their interns to do.
Behavior concerns are universal. They vary school to school, district to district, state to state, but one constant is all schools will deal with children and youth who display challenging behavior. And one of the things we know is that the sort of traditional kind of get tough, zero tolerance, trying to punish kids simply doesn't work. So there's this need to sort of rethink. And our focus is about building appropriate skills, not simply trying to reduce problem behavior. In other words, we want to build pro-social skills that we know will help them be successful both in school as well as post-secondary.
I'm working on a couple of different projects right now. One that focuses on middle school mathematics. So we're working with middle school math teachers to help support them in supporting their students who have some great need in learning. This is part of an Office of Special Ed funded program called Project STARE. I also have an early writing project where our focus is supporting and coaching teachers who are working with students who are struggling and have intensive needs in early writing. We've been really fortunate that during the time that we've been working on these projects, we've seen really positive impacts. For instance, with the early writing project, over the time that we've been collecting data, we've seen positive impacts on student outcomes, but also really positive impacts on teacher outcomes. And we're seeing those results sustain, which is really a goal of ours, not to just have it be while we're in the moment, but we hope that these impacts and the work that we're doing sustains over time.
I'm a proud Mizzou alumni, so I attended Mizzou for my undergraduate degree. Prior to my PhD program, I was a staff member with Missouri School-Wide Positive Behavior Support, which is housed in the special education department. Working with other students who were part of the PhD program and learning more about it and the department itself and the faculty and the experiences is what encouraged me to apply.
When I was searching for programs, Mizzou was the only university that had a special education department within the College of Education, and they had a degree specific to emotional behavior disorders, and I thought it was just the perfect fit for me. This opportunity at Mizzou has allowed me to take part in IES grants and gain the experience that a world-class researcher needs in order to make their mark in academia, in writing, in research. So I feel very lucky, very blessed, very fortunate to have this experience at Mizzou.
I'm joined with Dr. Toni Franklin. Can you tell us what has the group been working on for the past 12 months?
Well, the past 12 months, the group has really been in the beginning stages. We're forming our work group together, and so now that we have the groups finalized, now that's when the real work begins. So it's kind of in the prep phase, what we've been doing so far.
Okay, very good. And then for the CEC members that might be unaware of the group, how does the work impact educators directly?
Well, the work that we're doing with the Advanced Standards Revision really guides the preparation programs across the nation as to the content and to how they build their classrooms. So it helps them know the most up-to-date evidence best practices, policies and procedures, and things that teachers need to know to be effective with our students. And so they use this as guidance to build their classwork and their programs. So as students go through those programs, they have internships and practicums in the field and practice finalizing their skills so that they'll be able to directly improve the students in the field.
So it sounds like a great foundation and roadmap for educators.
Exactly.
Yes, excellent. And then for those members wanting to learn more about updated CEC advanced standards, what resources are available?
Well, that's what the work group is working on right now, getting together and putting together resources and revising the standards. So then at next year's convention, we will have the resources together and actually have a feedback session where the members can come and see what we've been working on and provide guidance.
It was a pleasure speaking to you, but I look forward to what happens next year and to see the growth and development of this.
Oh yes, we're very excited about the work we're doing.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Zaro Institute on Transition and Self-Determination at the University of Oklahoma is best known for their online tools to help educators develop transition and self-determination skills for their students. Despite the new name, the Institute has offered timeless resources for educators and their students over the years. Let's take a closer look.
The state of Oklahoma has been experiencing teacher shortages for the past 3 decades. Among those is special education, along with mathematics, science, and foreign language. Those have traditionally been the high needs areas. As we've moved forward in the last decade, special education is especially a crisis area. So part of what I see as a College of Education, an important endeavor for us is to help meet those needs And so at the University of Oklahoma, in the Janine Rainbow College of Education, we have the Zaro Institute for Transition and Self-Determination. And one of the things that it does so well is, of course, focus on that specialized area in special education that's transition. We know for special education students that there are transition points all along the way through their time in public schools and beyond. So from elementary school to middle school, from middle school to high school, and then from high school into college or into the working world. And the Zaro Institute focuses specifically on that.
The Zaro Institute is most known for a lot of the resources we have to offer educators and teachers to develop transition and self-determination skills for their students. Our website at the Zaro Institute is filled with resources that are free for teachers to use while they're teaching. One of our most popular resources is the Transition Assessment and Goal Generator. This is a transition assessment in which teachers can utilize to help plan for the transition portion of their IEPs each year. One reason that the tag is so popular is that suggested annual transition goals are given at the end of this assessment, and educators can use those goals, tweak those goals, and make them appropriate for their individual students.
We have a couple of lesson plans and curriculums that we have online. Our biggest curriculum that is very popular is the Me curriculum, and it is popular on our Teachers Pay Teachers and our website. We have thousands of downloads a month. It is a pretty large curriculum, but has some wonderful things and resources on there. We also have the Choice Maker curriculum. It's a large curriculum as well, but then to accommodate those teachers who don't have time to teach this year-long curriculum, we have lesson plans on there. We also have these things called one-pagers that we've been putting out that have a lot of information on one page, and they're linked up so teachers can click on them and it'll bring them to a website that they can use to help create post-secondary goals for students. We have one-pagers that have all of the information on how to get students involved in the IEP, from short little snippet ways to all the way up to those curriculums. And I think that that's one of the great things is they're a one-page document that you can pass along to teachers. They can use it however they need to use it.
One of the programs that the Zaro Institute offers is the Sooner Works program. This is an innovative college experience program for young adults with an intellectual or developmental disability. These students are able to come to OU, live in OU housing, participate in OU coursework, join student organizations, and really get the full college experience as with any degree-seeking student. With this, both our students in the Sooner Works program and regular OU students benefit greatly. Our students in the Sooner Works program learn really important independent living skills, what it's like to be an adult, and the regular OU students learn how to interact with students who have an intellectual or developmental disability. We know that the regular OU population is the next generation of leaders in this country, and the more familiar they are with young adults and adults with disabilities, the more those students are able to acclimate into regular life. So not even 50 years ago, we had a culture that was saying women can't go to higher education. We had a culture of people saying people of certain races and ethnicities could not benefit from higher education. We've totally proven all of that wrong because women have excelled, people of color have excelled. And now it's time for individuals with disabilities to show that they are just as capable of going to college as with all these other populations. It is important for us to make sure that college is appropriate, that college is accessible, and really allow this population to achieve their highest potential.
So all three of you are with groups that are here exhibiting this week. So we'll just go down the line and just tell us a little bit about your company's services and products, and most importantly, which part of our CEC attendees here this week are you most interested in reaching out to?
I'm Jeremy Glauser. I'm the founder and CEO of ELuma, and we get the opportunity to serve kids through online therapy. We match clinicians through video conferencing. We build the technology so that they can receive speech, OT, mental health counseling, and the school psych services all through a distance. And we love being with this community. Special education are our people.
Very good.
I'm Richard Capone from the CEO and co-founder of Let's Go Learn. And for us, CEC, the teachers and the school administrators are directly our audience. We're trying to serve those people as well as also the students with IEPs by providing them with assessment and instruction tools. Our assessment tools allow teachers and administrators to write better IEPs, provide STI, and basically overall provide them new technology that's sort of going to bring them into the next generation.
Excellent, excellent.
Hi, I'm Chris Uzenik, and I work for Pearson. I'm a clinical in their clinical learning service team. And you know, Pearson, we often are seen as an assessment company, but we like to really collaborate with the school districts and especially with special ed educators, because we're beyond just evaluating and just screening. We also like to provide pathways, roadmaps, so that educators can take that information and use it with the interventions that we also have, so that we can give the best support for the special needs students.
Very good, very good. And why is it important to be here at CEC?
CEC is really important because it's the special education community. And we support the special education community. What happens with these kids is going to have such a profound impact on their ability to gain life skills. And so we love being here, we love supporting CEC because we love the teachers, the administrators who are all in this together to make a difference for kids.
Well, thank you. Excellent answer. I think that probably speaks to why you all are here as well. Enjoy CEC and safe travels home. The Texas School Ready program is a comprehensive preschool teaching training program that has proven effective to close achievement gaps for at-risk children. The program is housed at UT Health's Children's Learning Institute. Let's take a closer look.
The Children's Learning Institute has a focus and a mission to support very high-risk children who might have learning problems later on, often because of factors such as poverty. We do research, clinical programs, and a lot of work in schools to help teachers and parents support their children's development. The Children's Learning Institute has a very unique model. We first start with the research. With grants, we can test out whether our programs are going to be effective with teachers, families, and children. Then we partner with agencies across the state and the country and take that program into real-life settings. We do that with the use of technology. The Texas School Ready program is one of the Children's Learning Institute's big efforts. It came about from the state of Texas legislation saying to us, find something that works with child care centers, with teachers in public school, or with teachers in Head Start. The components of the Texas School Ready program that were found to be effective in our research are intensive professional development to train teachers in literacy, math, social skill development. It's a progress monitoring system that helps teachers know how children are developing, a curriculum, and face-to-face coaching to support teachers to put the program in place.
Alief is a school district in the west side of Houston, Texas. It's one of the most diverse school districts in the state. We have around 90 languages in our classrooms, and we have a highly diverse population. And in general, the community is known as the international district in the city.
So Alief ISD's mission is preparing students for tomorrow while caring for them today. And it is our belief that we need to start with our youngest learners. So there's a lot of emphasis on early childhood education in our district. Well, the Texas School Ready program has definitely benefited our district. In the past 5 years since I've started working with Alief in this capacity of early childhood department. One of the things we wanted to do was increase the communication and the collaboration with the private childcare centers, and Texas School Ready has allowed us to do this. And we've seen, when we look at the data, we see that the students that are in the Texas School Ready program are outperforming those students that either were at home or in different childcare settings.
I have seen a lot of benefits of the Texas School Ready program already in our community. A lot of the times teachers come to us after 1 or 2 years of training and they tell us, I feel like a teacher now. Families have been making comments about the benefits of the program, and whenever they see now the banners of the Texas School Ready, they know that there's quality in that center and they want to get their children there. My main hope is the professionalization of the field, getting better opportunities for teachers, for students to learn more and be ready for the challenges of the school and the life.
Developing Talkers is a fun program for early childhood teachers to use if they want to improve their children's language skills. So it's 2 parts. It's a supplemental curriculum based on read-alouds and small group lessons, as well as professional development for teachers to learn how to facilitate rigorous and challenging conversations in their classroom. Part of what's innovative about the Developing Talkers program is that it exemplifies the Children's Learning Institute model of research to practice. So we started with developing a curriculum based on teacher partnerships and teachers' articulated needs. And then we did many, many years of iterative development with teachers to refine the model and to constantly improve the Developing Talkers program. And now we are moving into larger efficacy studies that continue to unpack exactly what makes this program effective for teachers and students.
I think the Children's Learning Institute is particularly unique because we have this broad array of expertise in the Institute. Faculty that are experts in math, literacy, STEM, language, and all of that expertise comes together in a very integrated, collaborative way to support the work we do for the children of Texas. Brain development in the early years is so critical to children's later learning. And so the role we will play at the Children's Learning Institute in this future goal is to provide resources not just for children in the pre-K years, but in the infant and toddler years when the brain is so rapidly developing and it's in response to stimulation.
Since the Education for All Handicapped Children Act passed in 1975, SRI Education has pioneered 6 national longitudinal studies over the course of 3 decades that's unlocked fundamental insights for special education policy and research communities. Combined, these programs impact 15.6 million children and youth today. CEC TV wanted to learn more about this historic institute.
Back in 1975, Congress passed the very first Education for the Handicapped Act, and that was the very first law that mandated that all children with disabilities receive free and appropriate education. So for the first time, many students with disabilities were enrolling in public schools. They passed legislation that asked the Department of Education to commission a study that would focus on students who were in high school, students with disabilities, and then follow their lives into young adulthood. And SRI won the very first contract to design and implement this study. When it became particularly clear that this study was of huge value was during the amendment to the law. And so Congress passed appropriations to have the Department of Ed have more funding to be able to fund studies that looked at students with disabilities across the age range.
It really started with a 10-year study that was conducted. It's called the NEILS study, the National Early Intervention Longitudinal Study, that followed children who were initially in the early intervention program when that first came into law. IDEA included young children with disabilities in 1986. NEILS is the first and only national study of its kind that gave us the information that we have that now informs our technical assistance. As a result of the studies and the research that have been done here at SRI, we have considerable expertise and knowledge about providing technical assistance to states. And we help states implement that to improve their programs for young children with disabilities and their families. But we also learn from our communities that we work with on the research that needs to be done so we can help improve their services.
Our student behavior research program focuses mainly on applied research. We conduct large-scale studies in schools all over the country, from preschool, elementary, middle school, high school, and also focus on children post-secondary. Our research is focused on helping children with behavior disorders, mental health problems, children exposed to trauma, and our level of research focuses on individual students, small groups, classroom level, to whole school programs. And the focus of the project, we want to make sure that when we start with the research study or start with the intervention, that we start thinking about sustainability from day one. When the grant is over at the end of 3 years or 4 years and we're finished, how can those teachers or the principals continue to implement the program in the schools after we leave?
Special education students, the majority of their academic experience is actually in inclusive general education classrooms. Now, in order to be truly inclusive, we really need these students not only to obtain the appropriate accommodations and supports, but really be in a learning environment that enhances the learning, not just for the student with disability, but for all students in that classroom. So one way that we can approach this is through the Universal Design for Learning framework. And this is an approach that really at its core is meant to identify our understanding that what may be necessary for some students, so those with disabilities, really is meant to benefit all students. With any data that's out there that looks at a nationally representative sample of students in the US with disabilities, SRI has been involved in that work, either as leading the data collection or contributing in some way to these longitudinal studies. From this work that we've been doing, we have affected directly over 15 million students with disabilities in the United States. And that is just tremendously gratifying to know we've had that kind of impact through our research.
And that's it from us on day 2 of CEC TV. Be sure to check us out on all of our content we've highlighted from today's program on the CEC's social media platforms and exclusively in the Marriott hotel rooms on channel 168. Till tomorrow, it's goodbye from us at CEC TV.